The text discusses the situation between TRW Grumman and the way in which its corporate malfeasances occurred to illustrate the difference in the way that the poor in our country are treated and how corporations are treated when each breaks the law. Because conflict theorists see power and social inequality as the main characteristic of society, they would focus on this as being the determining factor in how TRW is treated and how the poor would be treated. Conflict theorists would say the law is not impartial, but rather operates to maintain the interests of those in power in a capitalistic society. Conflict theorists would say that our laws are much harsher on the poor because they pose a threat to society and a special threat to the power elite if they were to rebel. Our laws then operate to perpetually disadvantage the poor so they can't gain a toehold in society and effect a rebellion. The criminal justice system is therefore as much an instrument of oppression as it is a safeguard to promote social safety and well-being. All states have enacted tough-on-crime laws in the past 2 decades. Persistent felony offender laws, or what many people would know as the 3 strikes laws, means that offenders that have committed a prior felony offense serve much longer prison sentences. The laws have increased incarceration rates at a very high cost to the public. Indeed, some economists would state that if our nation did not have such a high cost of incarceration, coupled along with such high costs of medical care, our country would prosper. What do these statistics suggest to you? So, how does society react to deviance to try and control it? One major reaction in the past several decades has been the enactment of tough-on-crime laws, or what's known as 3 strikes. These enhance the prison sentence so that the sentence might double from, say, 5 years and instead be doubled to 10, or could mean a 20 to life sentence for even a lower-level felony. This comes at a tremendous cost to the defendant and to society as well. Prison costs about $25,000 a year, so a 20-year sentence will cost the public about $500,000. And violent crime is on the decline. As the Get Tough laws locked up more people, the crime rate started to drop. Sociologists state that this is not merely the result of the Get Tough laws, but also because the employment rates increased, because there were less illegal drug use, because the birth rate had been lowering, and because abortion was legalized and more accessible. Some even say the elimination of lead and gasoline may have been a factor. The term recidivism refers to people that are released from prison who are rearrested. About 2/3 of those that are released will be rearrested within 3 years of being returned to the community, and half of those will go back to prison. With these results, we know that the remedial and rehabilitative effects of prison may not be worth the cost of incarceration. I'm not saying there aren't other effects of prison that the public feels is worth the cost. The public feels that some people must go to prison to keep society safe. However, the rehabilitative effects appear to be very minimal. The death penalty, the most severe and obviously non-reversible form of punishment, appears to have tremendous racial and class bias in its application. We know that innocent people have been sent to death row and executed, and there's no reversing that outcome. We know that certain states are much more likely to impose the death penalty. Some states impose it, some states do not. What geographic trends do you see regarding what states believe about the death penalty? How can it be humane in one state and not another? We also know there is class bias regarding who gets the death penalty. You rarely hear of someone who's upper class getting the death penalty. Half the prisoners on death row did not finish high school. Women are also less likely to get the death penalty. Women commit 9.6% of the murders, but only make up 1.8% of the inmates on death row. The bias regarding race and ethnicity is much worse. The rate of execution of African American men are several times the rate of the population. In North Carolina, a black person who kills a white person is 3 times more likely to be put to death as a white person who kills an African American. Statistics give us an idea of the rates and geographic locations of crime, but the statistics are a human invention. Crimes are reported by people, and information is collected by people and put into a database. So not all crimes are reported the same way. And how the police interact with people will also affect whether crimes are reported or not. Thus, while statistics can give us some idea about crime, we can't fully trust the data to be as valid and reliable as we would like it to be, and we can't fully understand the crime rates without accurate data. The medicalization of deviance refers to seeing crime as a mental illness. Radical psychiatrist Thomas Szasz refutes the idea that mental illness even exists. He believes that mental illness is actually a mental construct, a label that's given to characterize people with behaviors that the public deems as problematic. An example of this is ADHD, attention deficit hyperactive disorder, which didn't even exist 50 years ago. The causes of this, quote, disease, unquote, cannot be identified. Getting children to behave has been an issue since the beginning of human existence. So we now have a medical condition with prescription medications that can be offered to help reduce the symptoms of what is probably very normal behavior for children. For an excellent documentary on the development and the use of Adderall, see Take Your Pills, available on Netflix.